I wanted to record this video has for a while now, and today I think is a great day to do so. Tomorrow is our 6 weeks mark, 6 weeks of my baby girl and 6 weeks of postpartum, and I can't but to think of how our journey began, our beautiful birth that was my birth dream pretty much. Obviously, I think it doesn't matter how much you plan or how much you dream about something, there's always going to be things that you would change. And I think that's one of the things that has been hard on me, is to keep thinking of things that I wanted to have done and I didn't do, which kind of makes me a little sad to keep mulling over things that were so small instead of just full on celebrating our accomplish of having a successful VBAC. So our little story, baby girl, she was a surprise baby. I found out that I was pregnant on my birthday, and when I went to the ultrasound, I thought I was maybe 7 weeks pregnant, maybe 8 weeks pregnant, and when we did the dating ultrasound, ended up that I was already 14. And I didn't know because I was breastfeeding my son, so I never had my period. So we blew past our first trimester, and needless to say, I didn't have much symptoms, if at all. Then my second trimester was fine, fantastic. My third trimester was more challenging. She was breached, so I did all the jujus that you can possibly think of to try to turn her. And at 35 weeks, she did turn. So with my son, I never experienced contractions that I was aware of. And just a little blurb about my son. I had polyhydramnios, which is extra fluid, and he was never a big baby. So I didn't have gestational diabetes, so we don't know why I had extra fluid. And my whole pregnancy with my son was very scary because of the extra fluid. People kept saying, like, well, maybe he will have dwarfism because his limbs are measuring a little small, or maybe his trachea and the other tube are connected and so he's not swallowing properly, that's why we have extra fluid, or maybe he just pees a lot, or there were so many maybes that they kept saying about my son, because usually when you have extra fluid you have a bigger baby, and my son was never big. But then again, my husband and I, we are not big people, so we were kind of just hoping for the best. They didn't even think that my son was going to be 6 pounds when he was born, and he was 7.5. So because I had a pregnancy grounded in fear, when they told me that if I passed 41 weeks, the risk of a stillbirth are super high, I decided to be induced at 41. And the sad part about this is that on Sunday, so I turned 41 weeks on a Tuesday. On Sunday, the Sunday before that 41-week Tuesday, I had lost my mucus plug, so my body was clearly doing something. On Monday, I went to be checked, and I was already 3 centimeters. So I think if I had waited a little longer, if my midwives at the time had said, you know what, why don't you wait a little longer? It's safe. We'll keep monitoring you and Leo. Maybe I would have gone into labor, but I ended up going to the hospital at 41 weeks, and I was induced, and my body didn't respond well to induction. The first day in the hospital, I didn't progress at all. I didn't even feel the contractions, even though I was already on the highest dose of Pitocin. The second day, they broke my water, and then that's when I finally started having contractions. But I was so miserable that I ended up having an epidural, and from that point on, things just start going south. The next day, I couldn't progress more than 9 centimeters. So, in the end of the day, they were seeing my canyon, and they were like, you know, we've been here for 3 days. You've been on 9 centimeters the whole day. I think it's time. So we called a cesarean, and by that point, I was done too. And I had my healthy, beautiful baby boy, but that hurt. That hurt quite a bit because I wanted a natural birth, and I studied and I prepared so much, and it didn't happen. So back to my baby girl. And with my son, the third trimester was beautiful. I didn't have pain. I didn't have anything. I was so comfortable. I loved being pregnant with my son. With my daughter, the third trimester, I was so miserable. I I wanted her to stay in because I was so scared of how life was going to be with two babies. And because I loved being pregnant with my son, I kind of felt like I needed to love love being pregnant with her. But it was a tough third trimester. I was so uncomfortable. But I had an agreement with my baby girl. I said that she was coming before 40 weeks. Around 39, I thought was going to be great. 39, 40 weeks will be perfect. That was our agreement. You're coming early, you're not making me wait. And at 39 weeks and 2, she decided to come. So I never knew how a natural contraction felt like. So I guess I was having contractions a few days before I actually went into labor, because I kept feeling pressure in my belly, but it didn't hurt. So I didn't think much of it. And I thought it was her pushing my belly. So I didn't realize that I was having contractions. And obviously I didn't know how frequent they were. On Saturday, I lost my mucus plug, and I start feeling contractions that actually were a little crampy. So I start timing them, and they were about 7 to 10 minutes apart. But I slept fine. I didn't, I would wake up every now and again with a little pain, but that was it. In the morning, my son came to bed, and he was nursing, and I just felt a pop, and my water broke. So I got up, and I immediately started feeling like I needed to poop, and nothing came out. And I was like, that's a little weird, because based on what I study, when you have the urge to poop is because you have to push, or maybe because your baby's so low. It's like, it's impossible for me to have progressed that much. So I called my midwives, and they were like, well, yeah, it's, if you're having the urge to poop, you probably are, there. So I showered, and I showered with my son, and I cried because I was so thankful that I was finally going to labor on my own. And my son was so cute, by my side, and just kind of being a cute support. And we 2 hours, I guess 3 hours later, we decided to go to the hospital. But in the ride to the hospital, I stopped feeling. I had contractions, but they were very mild, and I didn't feel the pressure anymore. So I decided to go to my midwife's office, and I got there. I was 3 centimeters, which was a little disappointing, but I was 80% effaced, which was great. They had to monitor. She wanted to monitor the baby for 20 minutes, and in that time, my doula got there. She was rubbing my feet. She was kind of like talking how to relax through contractions. Even though I practiced, it was very hard to remember everything that I practiced. But again, it was very mild contractions, like nothing compared to what I was having at home. And my midwife was extremely encouraging, saying, it's normal when you move, when it's a different environment and you are comfortable with, it's normal for your body to kind of regress a little bit. As soon as I got up after the 20 minutes had passed, as soon as I got off the bed, my contractions picked up like big time. From barely feeling them, I was very much feeling them, and they were already 3 minutes apart. So we were walking, we went up and down the stairs. I could not pee the whole labor. And so my water broke at 6 in the morning. I went to my midwife's office, maybe at 9 or 10. And then by noon, I was bawling. Like I was in extreme pain. And I started thinking like maybe I want to go to the hospital to get an epidural, which that was not in my plans at all. I wanted to do this naturally. That was my big thing. And so and my midwife said, whenever you want to go, I think you're ready to go. So I decided to go to the hospital. I got to the hospital. It was quite an awful car ride, but apparently I fell asleep somehow. When I got to the hospital, they wanted to put me in a wheelchair, and I refused because I could not tolerate sitting. So I freaked out everyone because I would give like 2 steps and I would stop to have a contraction, and everybody in the lobby was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna birth this baby right here. It was quite funny to see everybody freaking out. But we got checked in and we got to the hospital, and they made me lay down. Obviously they wanted to check, and it was awful. And I was screaming. It was the only time that I actually screamed, like, please help me, this is awful. And they were like, let me check you, and maybe you go to the water and you'll feel better. So I got checked, and it was 9 centimeters. So I was extremely happy because I made it to the point that I left off with my son. But to me, that was this huge bump to cross. Oh, because also when I had my cesarean, they told me that I had a narrow pelvis. So yay, I got to 9 centimeters, but to me it was like, okay, now is the time to make it or break, because I don't know if she's gonna descend anymore. But my midwife checked, and she was like on -1 station, so she was low. I got to the tub, and it was great, but because they had to keep the wireless thing on me, they kept losing her heart. So they kept having to, move me in, just kind of fidget with the monitor, and kind of like got me out of my groove. So eventually they made me kind of laid back in the tub, and they kept holding the thing. And I think there my labor kind of stalled a little bit. So after 40 minutes in the tub, they said that I needed to get out because I wasn't moving. It didn't feel like labor was progressing. And it was just time. So I got out of the tub, and within the time that I got out of the tub, I tried to go to the bathroom. Nothing happened. I couldn't pee for some reason, even though I was drinking water. I lay on my side on the bed, and I start feeling like the urge to push. I don't know if I felt the urge to push, or if it was just like so much pressure on my tailbone that I just really, really wanted to do something to kind of do something about it. I guess I need to wrap it up. So I start pushing, and 20 minutes later she was born. This lady. She was born with her arms around her head, and the cord wrapped around her head twice, but healthy and beautiful, and it was amazing. Pushing felt fantastic, and I guess that's it. I guess it's time to wrap it up, mommy. Bye bye.